Good afternoon, I'm Andrew Heaney, and today, this is part 2 of my Blu-ray collection video series. So I'm going to go through the alphabetical Blu-rays as quickly as possible. Like I said, I'm going to talk about them very briefly, and to my left, your right, my left, will be my rating of the film. First, we've got Chicago. I don't think this deserved Best Picture, but I still quite like this movie. Renee Zellweger is really good in it. Catherine Zeta-Jones is amazing. I would have given the win to Pianist or Lord of the Rings Two Towers, but whatever. Oh boy. Coco. One of the better Pixar films of the 2010s, in my opinion. In fact, in my opinion, one of the best Pixar films of the 2010s. And I'd say it's probably my top 5 films of 2017. My 2017 video that I made so long ago, that's outdated. But I love this movie, very emotional, great songs, remember me. The Dark Knight Trilogy Special Edition. I've talked about it before, obviously, in my DC video, but ratings are here. Begins and Rises are about equal in my opinion, but The Dark Knight is my favorite superhero film in my opinion. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I want to talk about this movie, this trilogy, in a much bigger detail sometime in the future, actually. Now that I think about it, because this and the sequel, War, are both really solid blockbusters from the 2010s. They're not masterpieces, but I still really like this trilogy. One of the better trilogies of the decade. I don't really care that much about the original movies for anyone curious. But this is I really love animals, and I love this series. The apes are much more likable than the humans, but that is probably by design. Next we got Deadpool. I don't love this movie, but I respect it quite a bit. It's enjoyable, it's fun, it's decent. 6 out of 10, closer to a 7 than a 5. Deadpool 2, I actually quite a lot more than the first film. I've talked about it before, but I'll add a little bit more. It has a better story, a better villain, and a better after-credits scene. Some parts of it are terrible, like I don't like the effects. T.J. Miller is massively unlikable, and regarding the super-duper cut, quote-unquote, it's not nearly as good as the theatrical cut. A lot of the added jokes are not as funny, but still, I really enjoy Deadpool 2. Death Proof. My least favorite Tarantino film, but I still quite enjoy it. It's supposed to be part of a Grindhouse feature with Planet Terror, directed by Robert Rodriguez, but I haven't seen it, so this is my least favorite Tarantino film, but I don't dislike it in any way. I give it a 6, it's closer to a 7 than a 5. Oh boy. Django Unchained. This is actually one of my favorite Tarantino films, in his top 4 or 5 at least. This is a very enjoyable film. I just love it. Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz are both fantastic in this movie. They both give amazing performances. If you want my opinion, I would not have been upset with it winning Best Picture now that I think about it. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. This is one of the best films ever made in my opinion. And it's probably Kubrick's second best film in my opinion, behind 2001. I wanted the Criterion Blu-ray of this for Christmas, but I got this instead, and I'm not complaining. This movie functions just fine, Criterion or not, and it is a phenomenally hilarious film. Gentlemen, you can't fight here, this is the war room! Dunkirk. Fantastic Christopher Nolan film. One of his better films, actually. One of the better films of 2017 as well. Very moving, very emotional, kind of sad, but that's a war for you. Enemy, Denis Villeneuve. I love this movie. I don't know what to think of it. That's all I'm going to say. Just see it. See it with knowing as little as possible. Fargo. This is my favorite Coen Brothers film. And one of my favorite movies. I'm not sure if the police work there is all the way accurate, though. Okay, that was a terrible misquote. But Frances McDormand gives, in my personal opinion, so far a career best performance. The Coen Brothers, their direction is probably at their best. Fight Club, David Fincher. This used to be one of my favorite movies, but it's not really anymore. It's one of his better written films, but he has made better films since. And I will get to those down the line on this collection, since I do own most of Fincher's films on here. There are some exceptions, which I will list off. Finding Nemo. One of my favorite Pixar films, if you want my opinion. I do have some problems with it, like some scenes are a little unnecessary. I don't like the all drains lead to the ocean stuff, but overall it's an amazing film. Very moving. Finding Dory. I don't like this nearly as much as Finding Nemo, but I do think it's better than some people give it credit for. I don't like the first 15 minutes, but beyond that, it's actually a really solid movie. Okay, another Fincher. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Solid David Fincher movie. Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara are both fantastic in it. And I haven't read the book it's based on, so I can't comment too much on how accurate of an adaptation it is, but whatever. Speaking of adaptations, not a very great segue, but The Godfather. This is the best film ever made, in my opinion. At least that I've seen. This is the Coppola restoration of The Godfather, and it's just such a phenomenal film. Words can't describe how amazing this classic is. All the cast is phenomenal. Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, they're all at their best in this movie. And then that's a good segue to The Godfather Part 2, which I think is also one of the best films ever made. It might even be in the probably in the top 10 best films ever made. At least, maybe even top 5, I don't know. This is the best sequel ever made. And this and The Godfather are the two best book adaptations ever made, in my opinion. I don't have any problems with this film either. It's just I don't like it as much. I like the first one an infinitesimal bit more. So there's that. Oh, joy. Godfather Part 3. People are wondering, why do you own this? Well, because I wanted to own the entire trilogy and that was a mistake. I do not like this film at all. I give it a 4 out of 10. Admittedly, it is closer to a 5 than a 3, but who cares? Still not a good movie. Godfather Part 3, aside from the ending, the very ending, not the climax. The climax sucks. But the very ending is necessary. Besides that, this movie's pointless. Okay, back to a good movie. Gone Girl, by David Fincher. Incredible film. I'd say this is Ben Affleck's best performance. For sure. Like, hands down, this is Ben Affleck's best performance. Fincher keeps knocking it out of the park every single time he makes a film, except for Alien 3, maybe. But I am looking forward to Mank, very much so. I am very excited for that. Gladiator. This or Beautiful Mind are Russell Crowe's best performances. I love this movie, not as much as my family does, but I do think it is one of Ridley Scott's better films. But if it were my choice, I would have given the Best Picture win to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But you know, what can you do? They weren't gonna do that to a foreign movie back then. Grave of the Fireflies. This is my second favorite animated film of all time, and one of my favorite movies ever. Wow! This is very depressing. I watched this once, and it was enough for me to call it a masterpiece and one of my favorite movies. However, sometimes one watch can be enough for this powerful movie. Words can't describe it. Oh boy. Green Book. I only have this because it won Best Picture. It handles racism in a very simplistic and unsubtle way. It is a very inaccurate white savior story. The two leads, Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali, are fantastic, but I don't love this movie at all. It's not great. It's not terrible. Hateful Eight, one of my least favorite Tarantino films, but still damn good. But I don't like it nearly as much as some other Tarantino films. Her, one of my favorite films of the 2010s, might be my favorite movie of 2013. Either that or 12 Years a Slave. But I love this movie. Absolutely fantastic. ScarJo and Joaquin both give incredible performances. ScarJo and Joaquin, they're just so good. Steelbook for Howl's Moving Castle. I take back what I said about Wallace and Gromit. I think this one probably should have won Best Animated Feature instead of Wallace and Gromit, but what can you do? It's one of my favorite Miyazaki and Ghibli movies, if you want my personal opinion. So, very, very solid. How to Train Your Dragon trilogy. This is, in my opinion, the best animated trilogy ever made. Toy Story does not count. One of the best trilogies ever made in general. All three of these are phenomenal. The third one might be my favorite. I did say a year ago that's my least favorite, but my thoughts have fully changed since then. If I had a gun to my head and had to pick one of these as my favorite, because I like them all equally, had to pick one of these as my favorite, it would be the third one. But all three are phenomenal. Highly recommend them. Imitation Game, great movie from 2014. I'd say it's Benedict Cumberbatch's best performance, which is one of the reasons I own this, but I really like this movie. Not much else I can say. In Bruges, very dark comedy. I don't know if it's really a comedy, but it's very dark, very enjoyable though. There are some dour parts to it, but I can see, I really like it. And Sunday, Denis Villeneuve. The twist of this movie rocked me to my core. But it's a very powerful film, and I highly recommend it. I'm not going to say the twist, for spoilers' sake, because I did not know about the twist going into it, and I was floored by it. That's all I'm going to say about this movie, but Denis Villeneuve is an incredible director. Inception, great Nolan film. I'd say it's the second best film, actually, behind The Dark Knight. But, you know, some of it, it's very confusing, as almost everybody has already said. There's not a whole lot I can say about it that other people haven't said. Same goes for the next film on here. The Incredibles. One of my favorite Pixar films. Top 5 Pixar film, easily. One of my favorite movies from my childhood that holds up incredibly well. The only thing I don't like about this movie is that Jack barely does anything. But that's what the sequel, which I don't like quite as much, is for. Inglourious Basterds, my second favorite Tarantino film. Brad Pitt and Christoph Waltz are incredible in this. Both of them give some of their best performances. Actually, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and 12 Monkeys, Brad Pitt was better in those two. But Christoph Waltz plays one of my favorite characters, or villains specifically ever, Colonel Hans Landa. Absolutely amazing character. Inside Out. I didn't love this movie when I first saw it, but it has grown on me. That being said, I do think this film is kind of overrated. Sorry, fans of this movie. This movie's great, though. Very creative, very entertaining, very likable and sweet. But I would have given the Oscar to Anomalisa, hands down. Sorry, fans of Inside Out. Insomnia. One of the weakest Nolan films, but it's still a very solid film. I really like Al Pacino and Robin Williams, who, for once, plays a villain. A very intimidating villain at that. Both great characters. Interstellar. Well, another weaker Nolan film in my opinion. My 7 out of 10 rating is much closer to an 8 than a 6, which is different from Insomnia. But I still like this movie a lot. Yeah, it's way too long, and it's basically a discount 2001. Jackie Brown, good Tarantino movie. I have watched this the least out of all of Tarantino's films, with the possible exception of Death Proof. And I like this more than Death Proof and Hateful Eight, but this is one of his more forgettable films, if you want my opinion. I still like it, though. Joker, the most overrated film of 2019, in my opinion. I still like it. This is the only Best Picture nomination. Oh yeah, it's a 4K Blu-ray. This is the only Best Picture nomination from that year that I think did not deserve a nomination. I still like it, though. Joaquin Phoenix is incredible in it. Either this or The Master are his career best performances. I have it because it's DC and I love DC, but like, you know, I don't think this is a masterpiece or even a great movie, all things considered. I just own it just cause. Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. Both great Tarantino films, incredibly violent, very well written. The Bride is one of my favorite female protagonists of all time. And not much else I can say, but amazing. They're not his best films, though. Oh boy. King of Comedy. Excellent Scorsese movie. I think it might actually be in his top 5. Definitely in his top 10, for sure. Robert De Niro plays a great character. This is one of the reasons why I don't love Joker as much as I used to. Or as much as other people do, at least. Because Joker basically rips off this and Taxi Driver. Two fantastic Scorsese movies. I wouldn't say rip off, but takes a little too much influence from, if you want my opinion. The King's Speech. Great Best Picture winner, but the winner should have been Social Network or Black Swan. Colin Firth was incredible in this, and I love Helena Bonham Carter in this too. This is an amazing film. I don't think it's bad by any means. I know some people say, oh, it's a forgettable Best Picture winner. It's not forgettable. It's a great movie. Whatever. Oh boy. Knives Out. Rian Johnson's apology for The Last Jedi. Or if it's his apology, well then apology accepted, because this movie is amazing. Okay, that was a little too loud, but this is one of my favorite films of 2019. In my top 5 for sure. I adore this movie. Well, the twist at the end, so good. And Daniel Craig is so amazing in that movie too. Plays Foghorn Leghorn as a badass detective. Kung Fu Panda movie trilogy. Dumb sounding title aside and dumb trailers for all 3 movies aside, all 3 of these movies are really solid. Especially the first and second one. The first one is probably my favorite of the trilogy. I think it's one of the best DreamWorks films ever. The second one's great. I don't love the humor or the first half of it quite as much, but the second half makes up for it. And the third one is basically a discount Return of the Jedi. I know people say that all the time, but it's very much true. Next we got La La Land, or is it Moonlight? Okay. You know I was going to make that joke when I saw this, but it's a great Damien Chazelle movie. I don't love it as much as Whiplash, but I still love it. Emma Stone's phenomenal in this. The cinematography and the song, great. City of Stars is great. The winner for that song, though, I like the audition song a little bit more than City of Stars, but whatever. Ooh boy, The Lighthouse. This is my second favorite film of 2019. It was my first, but another movie that I'll get to in a sec I like a little bit more. The Lighthouse is so good. This is a modern day The Shining, in my opinion. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, who, by the way, I'm very much looking forward to the Batman. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson pull powerhouse performances. Willem Dafoe should have been nominated. Pattinson, I can forgive them snubbing him. But they're both phenomenal. Logan, my favorite live-action Marvel movie. It's very tragic, very sad, very violent, but it's all necessary in my opinion. Okay, here's one I'm probably going to spend a little too much time on, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy theatrical cuts. I don't have the extended editions on Blu-ray, but I do have them in fine condition in DVD, so don't worry. For anyone curious on my thoughts on the 3 movies, all 3 movies are 10s, theatrical or extended. They're all 10s. I love Lord of the Rings. Some of my favorite movies ever. But for anyone curious, which do I like, extended or theatrical more? Well, the extended cut of Fellowship is significantly better than its theatrical. The Two Towers theatrical cut is much better than its extended cut. Return of the King, they're pretty much equal. Because I barely like Return of the King's extended more than its theatrical. But there are parts in the theatrical that are done so much better. But there's part in the extended that is done so much better. So I guess it's a toss-up. Like I said, Fellowship's extended cut is much better. Towers' extended cut is much worse, and Return of the King is equal. Mad Max: Fury Road, one of my favorite action movies of the decade. Actually, it might be my favorite action movie of the decade, now that I think about it. But this is a phenomenal film. I had to watch it a few times for me to give it my 10 out of 10 rating. But yeah, it's a 10. A Martin Scorsese triple feature. It's The Departed, which I think was about damn time Martin Scorsese won some awards. Goodfellas, which is my favorite Scorsese movie of all time and one of my favorite movies. And The Aviator, which is still pretty good. Not much else I can say, but I really like all 3 movies. The Departed is phenomenal, and Goodfellas is one of my favorites. $1 Million Baby. Oh, this movie made me bawl. Clint Eastwood, Hilary Swank, and Morgan Freeman are all phenomenal in this. This movie actually made me bawl at the end. Not cry, it made me bawl. Oh my goodness. Please see this movie. It deserved Best Picture, in my opinion. Memento. A solid Christopher Nolan film. One of his first, I think? Yeah. Very interesting, the way it's told backwards and forwards at the same time. Love it. Miller's Crossing. A pretty great Coen Brothers movie. I've only seen it once. But John Turturro and Gabriel Byrne are both phenomenal in this film. I really like John Turturro for the most part. I've only seen this movie once, and I don't have many thoughts on it, but it's a great movie. Monsters, Inc. One of my favorite Pixar films. Very, well done. Very creative. I think it's Pixar's most creative film, in my opinion. Not much else I can say, but I highly recommend it. This should have won Best Animated Feature, if you want my opinion. Moonlight. Or La La Land. Sorry. Phenomenal film. My choice for Best Picture, which I don't have here, would have been Manchester by the Sea, though. Yeah, Moonlight's great. Very, sometimes hard to watch. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, another phenomenal Tarantino film. I keep saying that word a lot. Whatever. I love this movie. I said a lot of what I had to say in my review for it a year ago. I do have some problems. Margot Robbie barely does anything. Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt both give incredible performances. Brad Pitt definitely deserved his Oscar win, and I think the production design is phenomenal. The movie looks phenomenal. Alright, this is the last movie I'm going to go over today, but Parasite. My favorite film of 2019 and my third favorite film of the 2010s. And one of my favorite films of all time. Every minute of this movie is phenomenal. And for those of you curious on my thoughts on that pathetic man-baby loser who rambled about Parasite winning over Joker.
Out of everybody in the United States of the motherfucking America, how many people actually fucking seen Parasite? Can someone please raise your goddamn hand and tell me,
for the love of Christ, how many fucking people in the United States of motherfucking America saw Parasite?
I don't know what Parasite is.
Fuck you, Robert Storms. Fuck you. I shouldn't be swearing at him, but fuck you, Robert Storms. You didn't even watch Parasite, and you think that this masterpiece is worse than the Joker? Are you shitting me? That man, he looks like the type to say, I'm not so easily offended like SJWs. No, Parasite won. Woke agenda, woke agenda.
What is more important to our culture than the truth about a movie about how people in high places look down and frown upon the poor, the poverty, and people with mental illness, and how we need to take this more serious? But no,
forget all these fucking social problems that Joker touched upon. Let's have a better woke agenda, and let's go full fucking woke.
Fuck you. Okay, I don't mean to sound so sour, but Parasite is phenomenal. Part 3 will come very soon. That's all I have to say for now. See you next time.